get going. Martin, would you care to introduce our guest?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is my pleasure to introduce Randall Martin, whose upbringing in an Old-Order Mennonite church was marked by years of silence, suffering, and abuse. And at 18, he secretly accessed the strongly forbidden internet, seeking knowledge beyond the confines of his eighth grade young earth creationist education. Through online exploration, he found liberation from religious indoctrination. With his newfound freedom, Randall became an advocate and safe space for those, especially the LGBTQ plus individuals trapped within the Amish and Mennonite communities. He offers support to those unable or hesitant to leave, providing a beacon of hope in the face of adversity. Randall's journey is a testament to resilience and compassion. He guides others towards acceptance and freedom, navigating them away from the confines of religious confinement and towards a brighter future. So, everyone, please welcome Randall Martin.
Yay, Randall, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to have you this week and cannot wait to chat with you. How are you doing?
I am good. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be on here. I have so much respect for recovering from religion. And yes, I'm excited to be here. Thank you again for hosting me.
Oh, of course. We are so excited. I was super excited to find out that you were going to be able to join us. So I cannot wait and can't thank you enough for coming on to share your important story. I don't know if anyone else here was able to hear you speak at the American Atheist Convention. I believe it was the not this year, but the previous year, to share about your experience, and it was incredible. So I'm so glad that we can hear more from you about your experiences and share with others here. And also that we get to learn about your experience in one of the lesser known religious communities. We saw in the chat, not in the chat, sorry, in the poll, that not a whole lot of folks in this program have been a member of or ever been involved in the Mennonite community. And some of them aren't even sure about the difference between Amish and Mennonite and some of those basic things. But I know that you are going to tell us a lot more about it, and it's going to be an educational time. So once again, thank you for joining us. And let me
Yes,
start by
absolutely.
by kicking it over to you. Randall, tell us a little bit about yourself and your advocacy work that you've been doing.
Okay. So I'm probably not the biggest advocate like some of you guys are, but I like to put myself out there a little bit more on social media, making myself aware that way. I just set myself up as an advocate to other, especially the LGBT people that are in the Mennonite community. I just by putting that out on Facebook, it's really funny how that has just come back to me through social media. Although a lot of the old order Mennonites do not have social media, somehow, sometimes they access it, at the library or whatever, have a private account, and they reached out to me that way. Sometimes I've gotten random text messages. So, just by putting myself out on social media like that, doing the talk at the atheist convention in Philadelphia in what was it, 2023, I've got several people reaching out to me via Instagram from doing that talk and messages on YouTube because that has been posted to YouTube. So I got a lot of people reaching out to me that way, and it's amazing how many people there are in the communities that are stuck, and it truly is sad. And I'm here to hopefully, you know, be a friend and be a support in any way that I can.
Well, I have no doubt that you are influencing a lot of people with your advocacy. So thank you for that. And I know it's very much needed in some of those communities. Um, Oh, I also should mention we have joining us this evening as well a former RfRx guest, Mary Byler, is here with us as well. And as those of you who were here for her episode may remember, they have some more knowledge and information about this topic. So Mary might be able to jump in with some comments or answers to questions during the evening as well. So Appreciate that too. Okay, well let's move on. Let's begin with the basic question. Who are the Mennonites and what was it like growing up Mennonite?
Well, that is a good question because sometimes I sit back and I'm like, well, really, who are the Mennonites? And I think the modern Mennonites now, I see they've strayed a little bit from the from the old ways. That's something I've definitely noticed being from the outside looking in now. But who are the Mennonites? Well, you got to kind of go back a couple hundred years. The Mennonites split off of the Catholic Church. Uh, I'm gonna say probably 500 or 600 years ago over infant baptism. They did not believe in infant baptism. They were known as Anabaptists back then. So the Anabaptists broke off of the Catholic Church, and then Menno Simmons started the Mennonite religion, and he was a pacifist and believed that you should be baptized as an adult.
Okay, so some people may have heard of Anabaptists and not realize the connection to or sort of the timeline to how we got to Mennonite. Is that basically the beginning? But then also there tends to be probably a lot of other misconceptions too, right?
Mary Byler, maybe you can jump in and help answer that question a little bit better than I can. I know you did a whole talk about that. I think that would be a good question for you to answer if you're okay with that.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, sorry, it may be that I made the question unclear. I guess it's I'm just kind of wondering about if we were explaining, who the Mennonites are to people, we may be beginning with a lot of misconceptions about who the Mennonites are. What do you think it's important for people to know about to understand what this community is and what it's like?
So number one, people need to understand that there's decentralized leadership in both Amish and Mennonites. And because of that, with the Mennonites, you have what we call the brick and mortar Mennonites, or us Amish used to call them the liberal Mennonites, and they would get so offended by that. But you have these Mennonites who have institutions of higher education like Goshen College, Eastern Mennonite University. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have Mennonites like Old-Order Mennonites, how like Randall grew up Old-Order Mennonite, so he was on the opposite end of the spectrum. There's actually an LGBTQ Mennonite church that also has an extensive amount of trauma related to it, but they are more the assimilated Mennonites, the brick and mortar Mennonites. So people don't understand that there's this broad spectrum that happened, because even though Menno Simmons was the OG, the charismatic cult leader, if you will, and that routinization happened, and then they ended up with this wide variety. People don't understand that. People don't understand that just because somebody is plain doesn't make them Amish or Mennonite. They don't know that, because that's how often plain people are portrayed in media as Amish. They throw a prairie girl bonnet on somebody or a prairie girl dress like from back in the 50s on somebody, and they show that and they say it's plain Mennonites or Amish or something like that. And so there's this misconception about what they're even allowed to do. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
And
really good explanation. Maybe Mary should have been the one to do this interview because she might know more about the Mennonites than what I do.
Well, did you know the Mennonites were created as a counterculture? Anabaptists were created as a counterculture to dominant culture, and that
ooh,
Anabaptists were persecuted by both Catholics and Protestants. That's
Yes.
why we have the wonderful book called The Bloody Theater of the Martyr's Mirror.
Yes.
So
that sounds terrifying. Go
was
ahead, Martin.
well, I was since you brought that up, Mary and Randall, both of you on this, then because originally it was a break off from the Catholics, the Protestants broke off from the Catholics, and then from the Protestants, the Mennonites and a variety of others broke off. So is that why all of the persecution from those groups? Because it just seemed like everything kept fragmenting. So every time a group would fragment off with their own style of dogma, is that why the Mennonites were kind of, I guess, secluded by the Protestants?
I wouldn't venture to guess on exactly why they were persecuted. Our stories kind of go like Dirk Willems. So, in one of my Pathway School Book readers, there's a story about Dirk Willems. I see Randall's face. Randall knows this story. Do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, what's the story?
Well, Dirk Williams was a Dutch Anabaptist who was in prison for his Anabaptist beliefs. One evening, he escaped from his prison cell and he went down I forget, he climbed down the wall of the exterior of the prison and got out. It was a freezing cold night. He went to go run across a frozen lake. Meanwhile, his captors saw him and came after him. Well, he went running across the ice. The ice was thin, and the captor broke through the ice and started to drown. And Dirk Williams turned around and pulled him out of the water,
And and
saved his
and
life.
the way the story goes is, even though he saved the life of his pursuer, the people who were going to imprison him and probably burn him at the stake, he made a choice between everlasting eternal hellfire and brimstone, oceans of fire, they say, and burning at the stake, because suffering is holy when you burn at the stake. And he wouldn't give up the people, our ancestors, who were meeting in caves, and so they tortured him and then burned him at the stake, even though he saved the life of his pursuer.
So yes, in the end, they still ended up killing him.
Yeah.
By burning him at the stake.
Yes, because it's better to be burned at the stake than it is to burn in an ocean of fire, eternal hellfire, with lost souls screaming at you.
Far be it from me to second guess this guy who was, clearly a hero saving this person, but I would rather risk burning forever in some imaginary hellfire that we don't know exists than like burning in real life. But hey, that's just me.
I agree. I'm going to take my Vegas odds on that one.
Wow.
Uh, well, so I'm curious, and we've got a question here. This kind of leads into it about some kind of misconceptions of Mennonites, and just I guess as an anecdotal lead into that one, I remember when I was in college, in Corvallis, I lived outside of town, in a little agricultural area, and there was a Mennonite community that was there. And I didn't really know the difference. I didn't grow up in an area that had Mennonites, but people go, "Oh, Mennonite folks are here at the local store or whatever," because the men were very much like they were just normal baseball caps, plaid shirt, jeans and whatnot. But the women were dressed very specifically, and that was supposedly what everybody recognized and knew, and was some kind of a stereotype, and it very well could have been a misconception that all of them had. But I had just always taken that on faith and said, I guess those are the Mennonite folks from the community. So can you talk about that a little bit? Like, what are some of the misconceptions? I guess I probably just, I just voiced one probably.
Well, that's not always a misconception. I have a saying that goes, "You can't tell a man's Mennonite till you see his wife." That doesn't always hold out because it just depends what community you're with. Sometimes the men dress very conservatively and generally match how the women dress. But then, it just depends what type of Mennonite church you're going to. Like the way I grew up, I was allowed to wear jeans and button-down shirts and polo shirts, while the women, they had to wear prairie-style cape dresses with a large head covering, with the strings on each corner. I pretty much looked like everybody else. I mean, now if I would have been a woman, on the other hand, I would have looked completely different.
Yeah, and does that go along with the dogmatic idea of removing any type of a male gaze or a sexual attraction from them, or is it rooted in something else?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's pretty much just rooted in if you've read the Bible, the commands for the women how to dress is so much more stricter than what it is for the men. So I pretty much think they're trying to be more biblical by having women dress that way per se. I mean, I could be wrong on some of that. You know, I'm gay, so I didn't look at women. I'm not the one over there looking at women like, ooh, So for me, that was never a struggle. But I think for the most part, they're pretty much just trying to follow, what their interpretation of the Bible is with the head covering in First Corinthians. A woman should not pray or prophesy with her head uncovered. That's where they get the head covering from, and just to be plain and modest, being separate from the outside world. Dressing plain and looking different from the outside world.
Okay, I've got
Yeah.
to follow up on that. As a gay man growing up in a Mennonite community, at what point that must have been so awkward to be hearing about all this about, modest dressed for women so that they're not being tempting and anything like that. At some point, were you ever very confused about that before you kind of figured out what the situation was?
I can say I got very lucky because I've never got the sexual shame. It was always men don't look at women and never men looking at men. So I never felt the guilt of, looking upon a woman lustfully because they never talked about, you know, men and looking at men. We knew it was bad. You weren't supposed to do
Mhm.
that, but it was never talked about. So I never necessarily felt that sexual shame of, a man looking at
Mhm.
a woman. However, of course, I struggled with the shame of, who I was attracted to, because I knew it was wrong. But it was something we never talked about. We just knew it was wrong and we left it at that.
Interesting. I had never really thought about sort of that way of thinking about the sexual shame and purity issues. Like, of course, if you're falling outside of the heteronormative framework, you're outside of the framework. But to some extent, I guess you escape a little bit from some of the constant instances of shaming and discussion about what you're supposed to feel guilty about.
Yes, yeah, you're exactly right. Yes, 100% agree for sure.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really interesting observation. Well, and to kind of follow along with that, how in other ways do you think that LGBTQ plus folks are specifically impacted by the teachings or the practices within Mennonite communities? If you want to share at all about that, please feel free.
Well, I mean, it's just that there's nobody talks about it. Nobody knows, and nobody knows who else is struggling in the church with it because it's such a hush hush thing. Like you don't talk about it. That's very isolating to not have anybody to talk to. You could end up talking to the wrong person, and it gets spread like wildfire, and then you're a pedophile and all this bad stuff that tends to get associated with homosexuality. So, yeah, it's just really isolating. I mean, I lived in fear and silence for many, many years. Did not know what I was experiencing. I didn't know who to talk to. And, it's very overwhelming. And suicidal thoughts is something that is very common with the people that I am currently talking to on social media with people that are still in the community, and it is scary. And again, that's why I do what I do, because I want to be that friend. I want to be the person to help do what I can, do my part to make sure they have a friend, that they're not alone, that there are a lot of people in these communities that are just like them.
Yes, and that is so important. We talked last week, we were talking about, the importance of, having Pride Month and having supportive communities and safe spaces for people. And we talked about how the research consistently shows that the outcomes for people when it comes to their mental health and suicidal thoughts, when they have a community that they can get plugged into, and when they have support and they have spaces where they can go and have a community with other members of the LGBTQ plus community, their outcomes are simply so much better. It is a lifeline for people. So I know that you are saving people's lives with what you are doing. It's certainly that. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, thank you. I
Yeah,
hope I am making a difference.
I am
You
sure that
are.
you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious as to, this is kind of a two-part question, and if I'm throwing too many at you, let me know. But I'm curious as to what level of excommunication you personally felt from either family or community. And then what's helped you on your journey to recover from leaving that religion and ultimately leaving that community?
Please forgive me. What was the first part to that question?
What level of excommunication did you personally face with either family or community, friends?
Okay. So for me, I would say it was a little easier. I never joined the church. I was never baptized into the church. Um, Although my parents were, and I was their child, that kind of just automatically makes you part of the church. Although you're not bound by the rules, you are expected to follow the rules. Um,
Would you have been baptized as an infant in most
n-
Protestant, or that
no, no,
happens
no,
at a
no, no,
different
no, no.
time?
No, no, no. You get baptized as well. That's one of the reasons why the Anabaptists split from the Catholic Church. It was over infant baptism. No,
Mm.
Mennonites baptize as adults. That is a decision that you are supposed to make. You're supposed to accept Jesus Christ as your Savior and be baptized. And the Mennonite church that I grew up in, they tie baptism with church membership. So when you get baptized into the church, you are part of the church and you are required to follow the rules to the T. So up until you are baptized, you're expected to follow the rules, but you're not bound by anything. Does that make sense?
It does, and I'm sorry, we're kind of getting on a couple of questions here, but this is interesting because so with me, conservative Lutheran, I was considered an adult in the church when I received my catechism and I completed my course that led me to be able to take communion, and that was 13. So in the eyes of the church, I was an adult that had accepted Christ and was now part of the community that could be responsible for my sins as opposed to being a legal adult.
Mm-hmm.
So how did it, was that a similar age, or when you say like an adult, more along the lines of being 18?
Now, it doesn't have anything to do with age necessarily.
Mm.
It is strictly when you make the decision to join church, which is usually around the age between 15 to 18. If you're 18 and you get baptized, that's a little on the older side. Usually people are in the church that I grew up in, we're getting baptized at around 16. So that is when, yes, like again, you're required to follow the the church rules, the church standards, everything. Um, you can be saved before you get baptized, and wait a couple years to get baptized. Um, but yeah, like I said, again, they tie church membership with baptism. So once you make that decision to get baptized, then you better watch out. You gotta obey the church rules to the T.
Oh, okay. So does anybody ever try to get around that by getting saved, but putting off getting baptized until later? Or I imagine there's a lot of pressure to not do that. Oh, yes, you did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got saved when I was like 12 years old, and I wasn't gonna get baptized at that age because nobody. You don't do that. It's you kind of do it as a you do it with a group of your friends, and they do it a certain time of the year, right before communion. They do it in the spring and in the fall. So yeah, I was saved when I was 12 years old, but yeah, I wasn't gonna get baptized, and I knew at that young age that I didn't really want to be Mennonite, so I definitely was not going to get baptized into the church because that is when you are part of the church, and if you leave and you got baptized into the church, you can suffer some consequences.
Ah, okay. That's
So I
interesting.
pushed it off. I pushed it off
Yes.
and pushed it off, and I started to get pressured into getting baptized when I hit 17, and then I turned 18 and 19, and people were like, "What's going on?"
Interesting. Okay. I can absolutely see that. I put off getting baptized as well, but we were Southern Baptist slash evangelical slash mega church, and you can't get away for that too long. I finally succumbed when I was 10. I mainly didn't want to do it because I didn't want some strange man dunking my head under the water. That seems terrifying.
Oh, and we sprinkled. We did not dunk. We sprinkled.
Oh, okay. That seems better to me anyway. As someone with sinus issues. But okay, that's fascinating. Do you know of anybody that ever got like I guess kicked out of the community for not getting baptized after they were saved? Or is the pressure usually enough that people eventually find that they have to do it?
Yeah, it's more the pressure of, that they end up just doing it. They're not gonna kick you out of coming to church if you haven't been baptized. They want you to keep coming back. But they'll
Mm.
just kind of be like, okay, you're at this age. Why are you not getting baptized? It's time you join the church. So yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I feel like I have more follow-up questions about that, but I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole. But okay, I'll just ask one last thing. After you did finally get baptized, um, did that change anything for you, as far as feeling more connected to the community, more disconnected from the community, or more connected or disconnected from yourself, as an individual?
Well, I never did end up getting
Oh,
baptized
you
then.
didn't.
I
Okay.
did not. No, I am currently running unbaptized.
Oh, so you're
Um,
saved but not baptized.
well, it depends who you ask, but no, I hold no religious beliefs anymore. So that stuff just kind of, doesn't matter to me anymore.
Okay, okay. So you're not, still on the books anywhere.
Correct. Correct. I am free.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mary, you had a question there. I've got one for both of you actually coming up here in a little bit. But Mary, you had a question. Do you want to ask it?
Well, I have two questions actually. So
Well,
one,
you can have two.
do you know of any youth that have been kicked out of Mennonite churches for being LGBTQ?
Yeah, I know one
Okay. I
so
just
far.
wondered.
There's
Okay.
somebody that I'm talking to right now that's uh, I'm not sure where his status is at the moment with the church, but it's not looking too great. I think he's going to just end up removing his membership.
Okay.
Um, but a lot of the times, they're going to offer some kind of help if you would come out. I don't think if you came out, uh, in the church that I grew up in, I think they would probably try and send you to a facility, which Jasper Hoffman talks a lot about. I don't have time to get into the facilities that they have, but I think if you most of the time they would try and send you for help, to try and cure you instead of just, sayonara, you're out, goodbye. They would definitely try and get you help and fixed.
Fair enough. And did the type of Mennonites that you were, did they practice Rumspringa?
Yes, yes. Oh, I had so much fun on Rumspringa. I That's some of the best times of my life. We had the best cabin trips. We had the best snowboarding trips. We went to ball games. Now we did not do what the world sees and thinks that Rumspringa is. We did not drink. We did not smoke. We did not party. That's the outside world looks at Rumspringa as this time where young folks get to go out and do whatever they want to do, experience the world, and their parents just don't care. No, that was not me. That was not my parents. We were not allowed to do anything that was unchristlike. We just had tons of cabin trips, snowboarding trips, volleyball games, you name it. It was an incredible time, and we had a lot of fun.
And so, what is the purpose of that time? I know you mentioned it's not what a lot of people think of it. If they have heard about it, it may be a popular misconception. So, but what is really the idea behind that? Kind of like a rite of passage, right?
Well, it's more or less, I say other churches do this too. It's like going with the youth. You turn a certain age and you get to go, you know, do more things with your friends. That's pretty much what it is. I don't know how it got so misconstrued, with the outside world, with the Amish and Mennonites. I do know it was the movies that they put out that portrayed it as people going out and just drinking and partying and all that stuff. And yeah, there are some people that do that, but most of the times, if they get caught, their parents find out, their parents are going to be pissed.
Are there consequences?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if we would have been, drinking and going to the movies, we would have got kicked out of our youth group. We, um, I don't know what they would have done, to be honest, but yeah, there would have been consequences. We would have been grounded. We wouldn't have been allowed to go away for a long time.
Oh,
Would
okay.
the
Now,
consequences differ if you were baptized in the church or not?
Correct. So yes, if we would have been baptized in the church, we would have had to stand up in church and make a confession in front of the entire church. So that would be a difference there between being a church member and not a church member, getting caught doing things that the church does not want you to do. So, for instance, going to the movies, we were not allowed to go to the movies or listen to the radio. If we would have been caught doing any of those while being a church member, we would have had to stand up and make a confession in church right before we did communion. So we're on good standings with the church to take communion. Does that make sense?
yes. So, okay, that's very interesting. You mentioned, it would be, really bad if you were caught drinking or going to the movies. And I think the one about being caught drinking is probably familiar to a lot of people. That's the kind of thing that a lot of teenagers might get in trouble for if they got caught doing. But it sounds like that's kind of on the same level here as going to the movies or listening to the radio. What other things like that that now are allowed to do since you are not a part of that community anymore, would you have not been allowed to do that a lot of people might think of as normal activities for young people to do?
Well, clothing for one thing, wearing shorts.
Oh.
I did not start wearing shorts till I was 21. Yeah, I don't think I was wearing shorts in public till I was about 21.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
well, I sorry, I'm kind of jumping in there with a question because I had this one. I'm dying to know What was it like when you learned that the Earth wasn't 6,000 years old?
Oh,
Like, what
that
was?
well, that's a whole thanks to YouTube and my internet access. I did a lot of research, and I always
Do
be
your
the
own
person to
research.
ask
You
questions.
beat the trend.
Yeah. I you know that I haven't spent a whole lot of time what's the right words I want to use for that? I just came to accept that because that's the it's theory. It's proven fact. And just the studies that I've done, you know, a lot of that stuff for me fell pretty quickly, like hell theology. After I deconverted, that was one of the things that went out the door very quickly, which is surprising. Some people hold on to the fear of hell for a very long time. And I guess young Earth creationism was kind of the same way. That a lot of that stuff just went right out the door with like hell theology.
Well, so then with that, and I kind of asked this earlier and then I derailed us, so I apologize, but um what's helped you recover from leaving or after you left?
Well, this might sound cliche, but recovering from religion, I tell you what, you
Okay,
guys,
mark it. Record. We got it on the recording.
Got it. Checks in the mail.
That's our soundbite. Yeah.
you guys, no, seriously, meeting so many people from this group, I don't even have the words to put in it. How recovering from religion has changed my life. Just making new friends, people that grew up having similar beliefs to me, and we all don't believe that anymore, and just being able to share stories with each other, cry with each other, hug each other, and be able to relate with each other, that in itself is so healing. And it's something I don't think I'll take that to the grave with me. I cherish that so much. um, just having friends, meeting people that understand, genuinely understand and care.
Oh, well, thank you. I am always encouraged to hear when people say that. I think that to me is the best part about this organization as well is the relationships and the community that we're able to find here. So I am so pleased to hear that that is benefiting other people as well. And we're so glad
Hmm.
to have you here with us.
Yes,
Um,
thank you so much. It's an
yeah,
honor.
yeah. Well, okay, so kind of following along with that question, then, what do you think are some of the ways, and you already talked about this a little bit, but maybe there are others, that people from Mennonite communities in particular might need support after or while they are leaving that community? Do you think of any kind of particular ways that their needs might differ or specific needs that people should be aware of if they're interacting with someone who may be thinking about leaving or has recently left a Mennonite group?
Hmm. Um, well, oftentimes when people leave an old order, especially in the old order Amish and Mennonite communities, we don't have education above eighth grade. I think that's a huge thing right there. Being able to leave this high demand religion and then go outside into the world and having to start all over again. You don't really know how the outside world works. Um, you don't have an education to just go off and get a job. So most of the times, you're not going to have any money. Um, it's really difficult. I honestly don't know how to explain it necessarily. And again, Mary Byler could probably talk on this a lot more than what I can. But having somebody from the outside world step into your life and help you navigate the outside world, maybe help you get a driver's license if you grew up in a community that you did not have a driver's license. Get a GED if you only have an 8th grade education. Find housing, find a job, find a support. And again, like RFR, this was my support group that I found while leaving. And it might not seem that big to some of you, but it's huge for some of us just to have a little bit of guidance, a little bit of help, um, just to get you on your feet and start it again.
Yeah. But can I add that you did
Yes,
a really
please.
good job of covering a lot of the things that people might face? One of the things to also be cognizant of is that even Old Order Mennonites may speak English as a second language. There are some Mennonites that speak Plattdeutsch, and there are some Mennonites that speak Pennsylvania German, and that may also impact their ability to get an education or to get a job. Sometimes we don't have references to go get a job. Sometimes people leave and they don't have birth certificates. They don't even have $7 to go get a copy of their birth certificate. They don't have social security numbers necessarily sometimes. So be aware that these can be issues. I'm not saying that it's an issue for every single one of them, but it is something that can impact them. And when Randall talks about not having money, often if they come from a plain dressing community, even if they want to go wear dominant culture clothing, they don't have funds to go buy dominant culture clothing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have funds. They don't have money. They're unhoused. They don't necessarily have driver's licenses. They don't necessarily have wheels to get around. They don't necessarily have an education. They may not even have food to eat. So the more resources you can connect them with, one of the things that the woman who helped me did is she connected me with a social worker for the county that helped me find resources that I needed. So you can always make referrals to existing structures for resources if there is a need.
That's really important. Thanks for sharing that, Mary. That's good to know, and something that's good to know for any of our helpline agents that may be watching this video too, to understand that there are going to be some other unmet basic needs that may need to be addressed before people are even able to start working through some of these other higher level issues. So very good to know, and really glad for both of you to have made it through that extraordinarily difficult situation. And glad to have you here.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah. Okay, so you kind of talked a little bit about, getting over the hump and getting through that very difficult transition process. Randall, how would you say your life has changed since leaving the Mennonite community?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna say that I have come a long way. I used to be extremely, extremely bitter after leaving, rightfully so. Um, I have changed a little bit on that. I value a lot of the things that I was taught growing up in these communities, things that I can't even explain because it's so just in the culture that it's hard for the outside world to uh, know what I'm talking about. But just there's just a lot of things I do value. Um, but but the freedom to be who I am, to love who I want to love, to drive whatever car I want to, because that was another thing, we were restricted on what car we could drive and what color it could be. I'm free to be me. I get to wake up every morning and make new decisions based on myself. I don't have anybody breathing down my neck. I don't have to feel guilt from some omniscient God out there. I get to wake up and make my own choices, and I get to be me. And that is something you do not get in the church. and I get to be authentically me, and that's something that people take for granted, I think. And once you get out of religion and experience that, it's I don't have the words again to put in. It is such a freeing experience. I have no words for it. It's fantastic just to get to be me.
And I love that so much. That I love the way you described that. I feel very similarly to that in some ways, and you described it a lot better than I could have about being able to be you. And I have to ask a follow-up question that I was going to ask anyway, but it's come up in the chat too. We need to circle back to this thing about car colors. What colors of cars were allowed? And if you have a car now, what color is it?
So we had to drive black cars. Our church was known as the black bumper church because our bumpers on our cars had to be black. Our whole car had to be black, but somehow black bumper became synonymous with our church group. But yeah, we had to drive black vehicles. All our vehicles had to be black, and I drove my black Honda Civic from the age of 16 till I was 30. And I sold that, and I got a new vehicle, and it is bluish silver now. I made sure I did not get another black one for that very reason.
I love that. Also, my first car was a black Honda Civic, but not for religious reasons. Um, I
You
I
were Mennonite in
assume
spirit.
yes, I was there with you in spirit. Um, I assume this was something to do with, like, not being ostentatious or something. Was that the reason, or was it ever explained?
It's well, black is looked at as a plain color, you
Okay,
know. It keeps everybody's vehicle looking the same. Um, yeah, it's just yeah, like a conservative color, and uh, they want people to look the same and be the same, and it keeps everything together. So that's my best explanation for it. But yes, that was a huge church rule, and it had to be a certain color black too. It could not be like a metallic anything with like glitter in it. It had to be like a dull black. Um,
oh,
so yeah,
no,
it's
no glitter. That's getting
yes,
too,
no
a little
no
bit.
no, no metallics. No.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Well, I am so happy for your sparkly bluish silver vehicle now. I love that for you, and I love
Me
that you
too.
have color in your life.
Uh, so I'm curious then now that you have this color and you have all of this, what is the most the rewarding part of your advocacy of what you do?
Just the feedback I think that I get from the people that I've helped. I do get a lot of feedback from people and from their friends saying how you've helped this person out and you mean so much to them. And when I hear that stuff, I mean, that means the world to me. It really does. Because I struggle with my place in the world. Sometimes I feel kind of like I'm just me over here. I'm not making that much of a difference. And then when I hear that stuff, I'm like, okay, well, I am. And yeah, that means the world to me.
Oh, well, and I know it means a lot to the other people that you're helping too. So we'll continue telling you this evening. You're doing great work. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Some would
Yeah.
say the Lord's work, but no, not anyone here.
Not anyone here. Uh, so, okay, we talked a little bit about kind of, finding community and connection, and that being so important to recovery when you're coming out of a community like this. And I was wondering if you wanted to share it all about whether your conception of community and family has changed at all since leaving the Mennonite faith, and what your relationship with your family currently is, or who you consider to be the important or meaningful members of your family?
Mhm. So yeah, the community, that's a thing I really do miss. I don't have quite the community like I did have when I was in the church. And that's something I know the secular community talks about too, is trying to start up community in your area for non-believers or people struggling with their beliefs. Um, so that's something I struggle a little bit with too. I don't have I did lose a lot of friends. Leaving the church, I left about all my friends behind. I haven't seen a lot of them in many years. I have reconnected with some of them. Some of my very close friends that I have now have left the Mennonites. They're still religious, but they have did a complete 180. They changed their views on LGBT uh, issues, fully accepting some of them. Some of them, might not be fully accepting, but they don't care. We just don't choose to talk about it, and we're good friends. And that's huge to me. But yes, I don't have the community quite like I had when I was in the church, which is something I miss a little bit. But hey, I'm here for a reason, and maybe I should be the one to start up a community in my area. Maybe I shouldn't be waiting around for myself to find one and just start one up myself. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and you're a part of our community too, and you're always welcome here. And you can join us any Monday night that you want to, or any place else that we're congregating.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Well,
What
so
else?
I'm wondering then for because you got out, you found the internet, you got out, you found your way. What do you have for advice for people who are in that situation right now? They're you, but right now, um, what are what are some ways for them to deal with being trapped and looking to get out?
Mhm. That is a tough question. That's a really tough question. And what I can say to that is please hang in there. There are people on the outside that are waiting and ready to help. You are not alone. Reach out. Please reach out to me. I know Mary Byler. She's a fantastic person to reach out to. Jasper Hoffman, you can reach out to them on their social media pages if you need help with anything, and they will give some of the best advice. Just please hang in there, reach out. You are not alone. Believe me, you are not alone. You are not the only person going through this. There are many, many more that are going through the very same thing that you're going through now. And there is hope on the other side, and there is a way out. And there are people there that are willing to help when you are ready to bite that bullet and step out. And there's freedom on the other side. There truly is real freedom on the other side.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Randall is so articulate. We're gonna have to have you back on this program again, Randall. You're making wonderful sound bites.
Please forgive me. I am getting over summertime bronchitis. My voice is starting to crack a little bit and get very dry. So hopefully I can make it through the rest of this show.
We're almost done. You're
Oh,
doing
that's okay.
great.
I'm not trying to make you hurry. I'm just saying if my voice does crack, please be aware that I am a little sick right now. And
Uh,
yes, it's
well,
bronchitis in the middle of hot summer in humid Pennsylvania is probably the worst thing next to hell.
I
nobody
always
has time
imagined
for
that
it.
humid Florida and humid Georgia were bad, but I've heard that humid Pennsylvania and New York are equally.
Yeah, it's bad, and it's really bad this summer.
Mm.
Ah,
Oh, well, I hope it gets better out there.
Me
Um,
too.
and I hope you get to feeling better. Thank you for being here with us, even though you're sick.
That's
Um,
okay.
yeah, we appreciate you. You're doing great work. Just it had been a few minutes since I said that, so I wanted
Oh,
to remind you again.
thank you. That means the world to me, Kara.
Well, your work means the world to a lot of other people. Okay,
Thank
let's
you.
what do you say we take a look at the poll questions that we asked earlier, and I can read off the results that we got, and we can chat about that. Okay.
Might
So,
have to get Mary to answer some of these questions too, because my voice
yeah,
is really starting to go soon. So if Mary, if you don't mind, I
yes.
might ask you to jump in and answer a couple of these questions if you don't mind.
And Randall, feel free to like go get a drink of water or something.
Oh, I
We'll
do have
we'll
my
be here.
water right here, so.
Okay. Yeah, don't make yourself sicker.
Thank you for your
Okay.
concern, Kara. I appreciate it.
Yes. Yes, I will come over there and bring you some chicken soup if you make me.
Oh, I would love that.
Okay, it's in the mail.
Perfect.
Um, yes. Okay, but okay, I'll read the questions. You drink your fluids for a minute, and Randall or Mary, please feel free to give us your thoughts on how people responded. So we asked at the beginning, do you know the difference between Amish and Mennonite? And only 32% of the people who are here this evening who answered this question said yes. 44% said no, and 24% were not really sure or maybe vaguely, but not 100% on that. That's a pretty low number. How does that strike you?
Well,
Hmm.
I'm not surprised. I'm not
Mhm.
surprised because a lot of people really don't know the difference between Mennonites or Amish. One key thing to understand is that Jacob Ammon is our charismatic leader, the Amish charismatic leader. We have different leaders. He broke away from Menno Simmons' Holy Church, the Mennonites, and started what's now known as the Amish people about 400 years ago, something like that.
I don't
And
think I've ever heard anyone say charismatic Amish leader before.
well, his name was Jacob Ammon, and then the process of routinization happened. And because we have decentralized leadership too, we have all these little Heinz 59. It's like, the various flavors. And so just know that while we uphold some same tenets, because we're both Anabaptists, we don't believe the type of Amish that I was, like all 5 settlements I lived in, we didn't believe in absolution of salvation.
Ooh.
We also didn't believe in going out and recruiting people. We were not evangelical in any way, shape, or form. It was like, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine with my pure, holy clothing. That's what we did. Just some key things to think about.
Fair enough.
You have other things to add, Randall?
Yeah.
No, I was hoping you were going to answer this question because I remember when you did the talk at the American Atheist, I was like, wow, I'm really learning stuff about my community that I didn't even know from Mary. So I'm really glad you're taking this topic because yeah, sometimes I ask myself, I'm like, well, I don't even know what the difference between Amish and Mennonites are, but yes, I think it's a lot of the differences are mostly theological. Would you say so, Mary?
Yes. Yes, I would say that theologically we have differences, and the other part is part of the reason that Jacob Ammon was this charismatic leader is because in 1693 he decided that the Glaubensbekenntnis, which is the Articles of Confession that were written in Dordrecht, Holland in the 1500s or 1600s, something like that. But it's the 18 Articles of Confession. Articles 16 and 17 tell you to shun people and how to shun people. And he said the Mennonites have lost their way and they have strayed from the narrow way, and they are not shunning people appropriately. That is the oral history of Amish.
Imagine shunning people for not shunning enough people.
Kind of sounds like a
Look,
genetic dead end.
look, Amish and Mennonites have been beefing for almost 400 years, have we not, Randall?
Yes. Hmm.
We have been beefing. We have been, oh my gosh.
But it's been a passive beef.
Yeah, I want to see the epic
Correct.
rap that battle version of this beef playing out.
Oh my gosh.
I am
An
hostile in
idea
my
for sure.
pacificity.
Okay, Mary and Randall, we're gonna have to get with y'all later for the short video of the epic rap battle.
Oh,
Stay
okay.
tuned.
That's when I'm gonna put on Amish Paradise because my voice is like gone. I'm gonna just pretend Weird Al Yankovic is me for a hot minute and just play that. Mary, we
Oh,
know how much you love that song.
I know.
which is a perfect segue to our other poll questions. Of course, our second question was, are you now or have you ever been a member of a Mennonite community? And 12% of people here this evening answered yes to that. So welcome. And 88% of people said no. There was nobody who selected the prefer not to answer option. So I hope that the information has been interesting and useful, to everyone, to 100% of the guests here this evening, but in particular, glad to see that some other folks from the Mennonite community joined. And then to back to the Weird Al song, we did ask for our last question, which of the following popular depictions of Amish or Mennonite communities is the most frustratingly inaccurate to you? So the responses that we got from the poll were 17% of people selected the Rumspringa stereotypes that you talked a little bit about earlier. 33%, actually, this was the most popular answer, was this idea that all plain people are Amish or all Mennonite. 7% of people did select the Weird Al video slash song, and 3% of people saw that one Law and Order episode about the Mennonites, and 40% of people actually selected something else. So they may share with us in the chat what that something else is. We've seen, the movie The Witness was one of the things that we talked about in the pre-show and then didn't include in the list. But I would love to know, Randall and Mary, which one of these is your pet peeve, or if it's something different than one of these options.
For me, I would say probably Rumspringa is one pet peeve for me. The other one's not so much. I guess another thing that's not listed here would be, a lot of people view us as nonviolent people. However, once you get into the home, some of the abuse that children do go through is pretty heinous. I mean, I would say probably 99%. I don't know what percent it is, but a huge majority of Amish and Mennonite people believe in spanking their children and breaking of the will. And if you do not know what breaking of the will is, count yourself lucky, because breaking the will is pretty much spanking or beating your child until they almost become unconscious. They kind of fall limp and limber. That's something that a lot of people practice. I was taught to the what is it, To Train Up a Child. I remember that book from
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Little on Up. I think the Pearls teach blanket
Mm-hmm.
training and breaking of the will, where you pretty much you whoop your kids until they fall limp or their will is broken. So I count that as violence.
Yes, I would count that as violence
Very,
as
very
well.
much so.
Yeah.
Although we don't believe in going to war or becoming a police officer or anything like that where we carry weapons because we're pacifists, I think sometimes in the home, where it's hidden is where some of that violence gets expressed in ways that it's not shown to the outside world.
That's a really good point. And I know we see that in a lot of the other kind of fundamentalist religious groups that we hear about here, but it just kind
Yeah.
of goes back to that unfortunately common theme that seems to be this sort of almost dehumanization of women and children in
Hmm.
particular in these communities. Yeah, we're not violent except to our families, but that doesn't count.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, you hit the nail right on the head. You took the words out of my mouth. That's very accurate.
Hmm. My stepfather was a conscientious objector, and he was actually prosecuted for almost killing me. Quite frankly.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
When you're a conscientious objector on one hand, and then you turn around and you make people unconscious, are you really a conscientious objector? What are you?
The
Mhm.
For bringing that
hypocrisy.
up, Randall. I would like to say that there's so many stereotypes that it's really difficult to pick only one from this.
Yeah, it really is. It really
Like,
is.
Yeah.
like I don't know. Is it when I talk about like, hey, like children are suffering or people are suffering, we can do better than this. People care. People on the outside care. Like there are better things that we can do than this. And then there's like this immediate like, oh, this idea that Amish women are all so happy, like the glorification of the labor of Amish women. Like they think that all Amish women do these certain things. It's like
Mhm.
cooking, baking, sewing, gardening. They're submissive, obedient wives, just always, always exploiting their labor. And then they ask us to make things, even when we exit and we become non practicing, they ask us to make things for them. And they don't want to pay us for labor because that's going too far. We value the labor of these women that, when they were little girls, we followed them home from school. And it's
Uh,
sometimes they do that with Amish men too when they talk about the furniture.
mm. Kind of like, oh,
Mhm.
they like doing this kind of thing. This isn't
Yes.
a
Yes.
service that you should be paid for. This is just a thing they do.
And then
Right.
they romanticize that, and then they're like, "But I had this good Amish neighbor." Like honestly, I'm going to say armchair anthropologists and
Mhm.
sociologists. That's my biggest pet peeve. Is the people who are like, "But in my Amish community, oh, were you Amish?" No, I was never Amish, but I lived around the Amish, and what
Yeah.
I was this because what? Go
Mhm.
ahead, Randall.
Yeah, no, yeah, Mary, that's exactly right. That's how I see it too. Um,
Mm.
I was gonna say something, but it completely slipped my mind. Ugh, that's annoying. Gosh.
Well, that's
Ugh.
unfortunate because the next question I was going to ask is there anything else you'd like to mention before we go to questions?
Okay, can I just real quick tell y'all about Witness?
Yes.
Because Witness actually made a podcast,
What?
and the producers of the podcast, it is on Audible. The producers of the podcast, the way they redid it, if you saw the movie Witness, please go watch the Audible podcast Witness. I actually was consulted on that podcast, and what I have heard from multiple non-practicing Amish people is that once that was redone as a podcast, it humanizes it humanizes Rachel.
That's really interesting. Okay, I'm looking that up now. Is it, let's see, it looks like how many episodes are there in that?
Let me go look.
Okay, I want to make sure I have the right one before I drop the link. But this looks like what you're describing. Let me drop that in there. You can tell me if I have the right thing. But that I am definitely going to watch that because I remember that movie. That movie was probably the main thing that formed my impressions of the Amish community until I met someone
Oh,
that
And,
yikes.
yeah,
and yikes.
yeah.
Yeah, there are 10 episodes.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna add that to
Yeah,
our list of
that's the
links
right one.
here. Okay. Really good to know. Thanks for that reference. Um, I'm gonna go
And
check that
and
out.
just to be clear, the network didn't have a single push, like they didn't push back on any of the things they included in the podcast that were not in the movie.
Wow.
Just to be clear.
Okay. I really love that because I mean, to your point, as an anthropologist, I try to always catch myself and stop myself from doing any kind of, you know, these large stereotypes of people and speaking for people who are not myself. And it's easy to fall into even from a place of good intentions and trying to understand, but it's so important that we not speak for other people, but that we let other people tell us about themselves. And I'm really glad to hear that that sounds like what happened with this podcast, where they consulted with you and other folks who are actually able to explain the situation accurately. So I'm really pleased to hear that. Okay. Well, before we go to Q&A, we do have some questions. Sorry, that was a weird phrasing of that. Let me start over. We have some questions before we go to those. Um, Randall, where can people find you and any of your advocacy or anything else that you would like to share? Do you want to share any links to anything?
Yeah, so if you want to hear the talk that I did at American Atheist in Philadelphia, please go to Mary's YouTube channel. Maybe she can plug that in the comment section. Is it the Misfit Amish
The
on
Misfit
YouTube?
Amish on YouTube.
Yeah, you can watch my talk alongside Mary Byler and Jasper Hoffman. I think it's about an hour long. I highly recommend you go watch that. Um, I can't answer all the questions that I would love to in this session here, because I mean the questions and concerns are they're unlimited. So feel free to reach out to me. I don't have Facebook right now. I only use Instagram at the moment. Um, my username is Dean Martin Photography on Instagram. You can reach out to me on Instagram that way. And if you have any questions, feel free. I love answering questions about Amish and Mennonite lifestyle, mostly Mennonite, because I know more about that than the Amish, because I was not Amish, and Amish are not Mennonites. So
And
yeah,
we
pretty
know that
much,
now.
yes. So pretty much the only way you're going to be able to reach me is on Instagram at the moment. I think my Facebook Messenger still works, so you might be able to find me on there. I would be Randall Martin on Facebook Messenger, so you can reach out to me that way too.
Awesome. Thanks. And yeah, no problem about that. I've dropped the links for the Misfit Amish YouTube channel as well as the link directly to your talk
Oh,
in the
perfect.
chat, and we'll put those in the show notes too, so people can go and view both of those. So thanks for sharing that.
Hmm.
And all right, well, with that, let's go to questions. We have quite a few. We'll get through as many as we can. And I'll go with the first one here. Uh, are there any Mennonites who are not white?
Oh, yes. Yes, for sure. Most of the times, if not 100% of the times, they're adopted into the church. Mennonites are pretty big on adoption. So if there's a non-white Mennonite, it's a 99% chance that they were adopted into the church.
Interesting. Like as a child or as an adult or either way?
Yes, as a child,
Okay.
yes. It is
Okay.
very rare that somebody from the outside world comes in and joins the Amish or Mennonites, although it does happen on the occasion, but it's very rare. And if you
Okay.
definitely see a person of color, uh, they were most likely adopted into it as a child. And a lot of the times when they hit their teen years, their early 20s, a lot of the times they end up leaving.
Okay. Why is that, do you think?
Because uh, that's a, because that's not in their bloodline. I mean, it's such a privilege. We thought it was such a privilege to be born into this and your family and your grandparents, and it goes back and back and back and back. You're just not looked the same as the same if you were adopted into it versus being born into it. Um,
Oh, I see. And that
I
would be very like obvious. They would probably be noticed and treated differently as compared perhaps to someone who was adopted, but maybe passed for looking kind of like the family that adopted them. And
Yeah,
okay.
I would say so. Yeah, for sure.
May I,
Oh,
Randall?
yeah.
Think
Please.
about it. Think about the structure of the churches as kind of like this. You have people who are born in, they are always the OGs.
Mm.
And then you have people who have different levels of privilege in the churches. So on the top, you're going to have people with more power. You have affluent people. You know, there are billionaires that live inside of Amish communities. Um, Even your ministry in some types of Amish, you'll have like one bishop that has more power than the rest of the bishops in that specific flavor of Amish. In others, that's not so prevalent, but you'll also have, if they have enough members, they'll divide the church into districts. And then within each church district, they'll have their set of ministries. So ministry tends to have a lot of power over other members. Typically,
Mm.
the people who are just, you always have the middle class, like people a little lower than that. But then you have people who are above them still because they come from a good family. They come from the lineage of a good bishop. I legitimately have a book that's this thick with my ancestry. I can tell you
Wow.
who my ancestor was that got off the boat in 1737 and what day he got off the boat. So people who are joined in, they're always going to be the lower on the lowest rung of the ladder. But beneath the people that are joined in is going to be the people of color that are joined in.
Mm-hmm.
The black and brown, anybody who is non-white who is joined in is going to be the lowest of the low because they are visibly different. And in the communities I grew up in, we have a specific word that means the N word that people use as a derogatory slur repetitively. I know there's people that don't believe me, but that word has been documented in the Pennsylvania German Dictionary going back to the 1800s.
Oh, that's really unfortunate to hear. I'm sorry that that is the case.
And yeah, of course, they're not going to say they're not going to admit it either. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, everybody's the same, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, thanks for explaining about that for us. What else do we have, Martin?
Well, so since you said they're not all the same, we have a question about this, and I think we had talked about it a little bit prior to the show. So Mennonite brethren, prosperous farmers, or also colonies, Hutterites. Am I saying that right? Not Hootenese, that's Star Wars, but Hutterites. So what are the differences between some of these, or possibly, I guess, other sects of Mennonites?
Yeah, I don't know that much about the Hutterite communities. Again, Mary, you
So
might
these
have a
are all
better answer for that.
Anabaptists. These are different sects of Anabaptists.
And that's really where everyone's kind of mainly derivative from them is that
Right.
Anabaptists.
Yes, we originated, that's where yes. So they're Anabaptists. Hutterites
Mhm.
are typically known for like dressing a specific way, often living in colonies. Amish don't do that. I don't know about Mennonites. I don't really know too much about the River Brethren or the Bruderhof or how Quakers live. I just know that each of them has specific types of dress and specific things that they believe. And the importance of understanding that plain people can be of different faith and can have different lifestyles to some extent, I think is kind of important because we always say we live the Amish way because unlike the Mennonites, we were the right way. We were the right way, Randall.
Yes.
But we
Yeah, and
always
that
said that. Yeah, we just live different lifestyles. And
yeah,
you know,
Well, and
yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Randall. I apologize.
No, I was just going to say something about living plain. I know a person that lives an Amish lifestyle. Um, that's an atheist. So they look
They're
Amish.
just kind of an off the grid kind of a person.
mhm.
Yeah, they dress Amish. They wear the the ruffled pants, the suspenders. I think they even have the haircut that, especially when the Lancaster County churches require. He has the bowl shaped cut. But yeah, he's likes the lifestyle, but is an atheist. So it's very interesting. I don't even, yeah, he has a car, but he did drive a horse and buggy for a long time after he deconstructed his faith. He kept living the Amish lifestyle for quite some
Wow.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. I would also like to point out, if you want to know more about the Bruderhof, the Hutterites, and the
It
River
looks like
Brethren,
Judas Girl.
yes, this is a book by a non-practicing person. She joined she says 4 cults. She joined the Hutterites as a child. They went from the Hutterites to the Bruderhof to the River Brethren to the Amish Mennonite commune.
Wow.
Thanks for that recommendation. We always love our book recommendations here on RfRx. So thank you for that. And we got a podcast recommendation too. So we are winning tonight. Okay, well, I have 2 questions here. I'll put these 2 together. These are both about experiences that people might have if they are part of the LGBTQIA plus communities. And the first question here is, did men confess in church if they were gay? Was that something that you would have to publicly confess, or was that something that was more kind of dealt with privately on the side? How would that be handled if someone found out, I guess?
And most of the times it was something that was dealt in private and kept hush hush. If they would have been caught like having relations with somebody or something and they were a church member, they would have had to stand up in church and make a confession. Now they wouldn't have said exactly what they did. They probably would have phrased it in a way there was a moral failing, and a brother is here to confess a moral failing, and say it that
Oh.
way versus,
Mm.
that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It would be kind of maybe even considered shocking to bring up, and they would just
Yeah.
okay. Well, okay, good to know. The other question is someone is wondering, and this is a question for Amish or Mennonite communities, so Randall or Mary can tell us about this. If an intersex child is born with ambiguous genitalia or later develops secondary sex characteristics that don't match their reproductive sex, how would that be handled? Or do you
Ooh,
know?
I'm not even sure. I don't even know that
You want to look
although
it up?
there's probably are people in the church that are like that. It was just kept hush hush and nobody said anything about it. Yeah, really not sure how we would have handled that in our church. Maybe Mary again has something to say about that or knows somebody.
I actually have a few things to say about that.
Yeah, please.
One of the beautiful things about having met all of the people that I've met and having I guess you could say, the reputation of being unabashedly gay, that I've heard from many people from many different walks and ways of life. But I know that there are intersex babies that are born. Sometimes they suffer immensely in life. They try to they do the surgery or whatever they need to make them whatever gender, because that's what the parents want. And sometimes these children grow up and they become adults and they get married and they don't even know that they don't have the reproductive organs that they need to have children until they are adults and married and are childless. And one of the things that can reduce your status in many of these churches is if you're childless.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
because that's something that's heavily preached about is blessed be the man whose quiver is full, I believe.
I mean, maybe for you,
Oh,
but we didn't preach
So
about that.
The Quiverful family. So I think there's correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's 13 arrows in a quiver. So yeah, if you have 13 kids, that's yeah, I mean that's biblical, blessed be the man whose quiver is full. So
So
13 kids is a blessed man.
can you stop then when you get to 13? Like, do you then get to start on birth control, or how does that work?
Oh, well, it depends on.
Hey, why?
Well, that's
What
a
is this
whole other
blasphemy you
topic.
speak of?
Oh,
I
I'm
do.
sorry. Was
Let
I
me be
taking
so
it
for real
too
though.
literally?
Let me be so
I
for
thought
real
we were
though.
reading the Bible literally.
Look, I have aunts and uncles that have like 14 to 16 kids. I digress.
Oof.
I know specific non-practicing Amish women that do engage with birth control. However, pause, that is usually something that they might get in trouble with if the church found out.
Fair, fair. We won't say who they are, but we heard from a friend
Or
of a
what
friend of a
state?
friend.
We won't even say what state.
Yes, yes.
But
Fair
yes,
enough.
I do know some Mennonites and Amish that believe that contraception is a sin.
Yeah. Sadly, I know.
You're tampering with God's design or God's plan for your life if you use any type of birth control, including a condom.
Mm.
Yikes. Ah.
So if it matters, Mirkwood elves can have 45 arrows in their quiver, and that's Tolkien.
Martin, quit giving people ideas.
I was gonna say, please don't introduce that to them. We don't need
Why?
that.
Why are you trying to pervert these people? These poor innocent people.
They would have to leave and they would have to become Mirkwood elves. I don't make the rules, it's just the way it is, and it's really difficult being mortal to do so.
That's canon. You heard it here.
That's right. Yes. Please refer to the Silmarillion. I can find the passage. So we had a question from the chat, and it was, do either of these, the Mennonite communities or the Amish communities, do they ever send excommunication letters or some form of communication to you about the fact that you left?
Oh, well, if you could see Mary's reaction, she definitely has a
I
lot to say
didn't.
about
I missed
that.
Mary's tile is off to my left and you're off to my right. I missed Mary. And the background mask keeps catching Mary as well.
Well, I'll answer that a little bit here. So I was never baptized into the church. I never had to experience an excommunication or removing my
Oh, look at
membership.
that.
So,
They're getting pulled.
however, yes, I do know several of my friends who have gotten letters, very strongly worded letters of communication and excommunication, excuse me. Yeah, it was very hard. But yes, I do believe Mary wants to say something about that. Please go into detail because I know you're dying to do that.
You had like a pinochle hand of letters there.
Oh, these are only the ones I didn't burn. Let me tell you something. If somebody writes you letters telling you you're going to hell, burning them can be a great activity as long as you're not doing it to the point you burn your house down. Do not recommend that. However, pause, if you go outside and you have a little fire ring and you burn those letters, have at it.
You can watch the demons come out of the letters.
It can be very helpful. But
what do Amish demons sound like when they scream and fly out?
Well, I don't know. I have no idea, but I do know there's stories about that. But I digress. This letter is like, God keep you in his love today and be your special strength, I pray. God give you wisdom to pursue the extra tasks he gave to you. Because apparently being tortured as a child is God giving me extra tasks.
Wow, and they make it rhyme and everything.
It's everything. Everything.
Oh, I do also
Wow.
want to shout out, Mary mentioned about being tortured as a child. Some of you might not know Mary or her story. I would highly recommend you watch Sins of the Amish on Peacock to get her full story. Mary, I hope you don't mind me shouting that out, but really good documentary of some of the things that have go on in the Amish and Mennonite communities. Sins of the Amish on Peacock. Please watch that. You'll get Mary's story and several other stories of people in the Amish and Mennonite communities that are very sad, things that happen far too often that get covered up because of the romanticism of Amish and Mennonite culture.
Ooh, thank you for sharing that. I will add that link into the chat as well. And also, I put a link to Mary's episode when she came on RfRx a while back too. You can hear from her there as well. And this is a link to Sins of the Amish on Peacock. And I'm going to steal Gail's thunder a little bit here and mention that another good place where you can burn your excommunication letters is at the RFR Fall Excursion in our big bonfire that is there for that express purpose. I last year burned my recently gifted copy of True Love Waits literature,
Ooh,
which is from the evangelical version of fundamentalist shaming of people. Um,
Really?
yes.
Oh, I don't know what that is. I'll have to look that up.
Oh, there's a whole rabbit hole you're gonna fall down there with wedding ring, engagement rings that you wear on your ring finger to show that you're betrothed to Jesus until your father gifts you to your future spouse. You sign purity pledge cards, committing that you'll not have any kind of relations with anyone before you're married to them. And dating is inherently sinful because you're sinning by lusting after someone else's future spouse, the whole 9 yards. Um,
I might just take your word for it and not look
yeah,
into
yeah, it's
that.
it's gross.
Jared, this is a safe space. We believe you.
Yes. And so if you have things like that people have sent you and you would like to dramatically and cathartically rid your life of those items, you can come and burn them in our bonfire at the
yes, I
excursion.
also partook in burning a few things last year at the
Yeah.
RFR excursion, which was, you know, it might not seem like much just talking about it, but actually doing it and getting that off your chest is, whew, it's
Yeah.
very, very freeing. I don't think I was ever as emotional in my life as I was last year burning the stuff that I did at the bonfire. I was a wreck. Uh,
Oh.
some of you were there and can testify to that.
Oh, everyone was a wreck, but I mean in a very kind of therapeutic way, I think.
Oh,
I'm not
oh yes,
qualified to
correct.
determine whether something is therapeutic or not, but it seemed like a really cathartic release for a lot of us, myself included. So
Yeah,
I'm
it
with you
was
on
for
that.
sure.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's another thing you can do with your excommunication letters. Um, and with that, I know we have a lot more questions. We are getting low on time, and we have promised Randall to not make him keep talking with us until his voice runs out. So I do want to start moving towards our wrap up. But Randall or Mary, if there's anything that you do want to mention at the last minute before we wrap up, now is the moment. If there's anything you want to leave us with.
I just want to answer a quick question here.
Yes.
Clyde Donovan in the chat said, "Do you now?" I think the question was directed at me. Do you now call yourself an atheist? If not, what secular identity label do you see? Yes, I do identify as an atheist.
Mm. Oh yeah, thanks for catching that and answering that. Um, Mary, did you want to chime in on that too?
Yes, I call myself an atheist too, but can I just say this about Amish Mafia, my friend?
Yes.
The hardest misinformation to combat is the ones that put a little bit of truth in with and embellish it. And they mix a lot of misinformation. It's misinformation because inappropriately representing a group.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. That is a really good point about misinformation and conspiracy theories and a lot of other kind of things that people can get pulled into because they try not to make it so completely outrageous that you don't believe it. They mix in a little bit to hook you and then just kind of pile in some additional things that are not accurate. So thank you for pointing that out. Okay, and with that, let's go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much for being here, Randall and Mary, for jumping in and helping us out, um, and fielding all of these questions and sharing your experiences, and your story and all of these resources. And I would be remiss if I did not once again mention, Randall, you are doing excellent work and you are helping people and you are making a difference. Thank you for doing that.
I guess I just wanted to quick say before we do end the chat, I'll make this real quick. Yeah, I there's a lot of things that I do appreciate about the Amish Mennonite culture, especially Amish, or excuse me, the Mennonite culture that I was raised in. There are things that I do appreciate about it. I always try to end a talk by saying this, that I do not hate these people. I'm just here to be to be a vessel, I guess, to bring awareness to things that are happening that we do not like, that are going on in the community. There are people in these communities that I deeply care about and love wholeheartedly. I'm not here to do away with Amish and Mennonites. I am here to educate the outside world on things that are happening on the inside that shouldn't be happening. Um, I do. I love the Amish and Mennonites, and I care about them, and I just hope that there is change in the near future. And I think there is, because I do see a shift, especially amongst the younger generation. There's a shift in reporting child abuse and domestic violence and things like that. So there's definitely a shift, and we're glad to see that. And yes, I do not hate these people. We care, or I care for them deeply. And yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Can I just add to that? Because
Yes.
thank you for saying that, Randall, because it is important that people understand. One of the things that I really think is misunderstood is there's a tendency by people to either villainize Amish people or to romanticize them. And they're two sides of the same coin. We talk about our experiences because they're harming people that we care about today.
Mm-hmm.
About our experiences, because for me, I talk about my experiences because I don't have the ability to go tell everybody's story or everybody's experience that has told me since I was like 12 years old, listening to the experiences of these children and adults within these communities. That's not my place to talk about their experiences. But what I can do is I can talk about my experiences. I can talk about the things that enable systemic oppression and harm to thrive. And I can also caution people, I'm not saying demonize the group. I'm not saying romanticize the group. I'm saying they're people. And as such, they do people things. And within every people group, you have people that commit crimes. Can we just humanize Amish and Mennonite, plain Mennonite people enough that they are capable of committing crimes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great,
Very
great
well said.
points. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for mentioning both of those points. And I think that's a good spot to wrap up on. And again, thank you for being here. And thank you to all of our volunteers as well who make these shows happen and all of the folks who come and participate in the shows and watch the shows. We're here because you're here. And we'll keep doing it as long as everybody keeps showing up, I guess. So we're glad to be here this evening and looking forward to next week. And let me pass it off to Martin to help us wrap up.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And thank you both. And yeah, Randall, thanks so much for being here. This was really great tonight. So As far as next week, we do not have a confirmed topic on here, I see, so I'm not sure what's coming next, but we do have a couple of upcoming guests. I don't have their topics on here as well, but we've got Ross Blocker is going to be an upcoming speaker, as well as Bailey Harris. So look for those, and we should have those updated hopefully soon for everyone. I don't want to get pulled into anything. Most of the things I do are like balloon animals, 5 minutes tops, so not compelling. Hopefully we'll have some good topics coming up.
We will. We'll
But
be here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. We promise.
Um, but you can definitely check us out on all of the social medias and all of the great places where we connect. Those are now being added to the chat for you. We've got a link tree that allows you to be able to get to multiple different places. We're on Facebook. You can find Recovering from Religion there. Instagram, which is a great place, and all sorts of wonderful stuff pops up in there. TikTok has been a really great place where a lot of videos have been done. We've really stepped up our videos over the last, I'd say, like about a year now. So Blue Sky has been a really great resource to be able to let the other place go. And then you can find most of the previous recordings for YouTube and the RfRx playlists. Those links are all in there too, so you can watch the show, you can listen to it and download whichever works best for you. Now, what are the benefits of volunteering? Well, there are many, and it's pretty great. I highly recommend it. We have learned that healing can also come from helping others. RFR volunteers find meaning and purpose by volunteering with us. All of these services are supported by our staff of volunteers. We are always in need of new volunteers. And there are all sorts of jobs besides working the helplines, finding, vetting, and posting good resources for our clients to use, hosting support groups, supporting the OC, the IT support, and even what we're doing here right now. To apply to be a volunteer, fill out the form on our main page. You can find it at recoveringfromreligion.org/volunteer. I got that URL right this time. I'm doing well.
You're doing amazingly. You're invited back.
Yes. Turns out I have it on the calendar already.
Yeah.
And with that, I turn it back to Kara.
Yeah, you already passed the test when you said Murfreesboro, so you're good.
It was a test I didn't even know was coming.
Yeah, those are the best kind. So yes, and everybody else is invited back next week too. Please join us. And if you know anybody else that may benefit from RFR services, please feel free to refer them to us. And we have a short video called RFR What We Do. It's about 3 minutes long. You can find that on our YouTube page and share that if you know anybody that might need to hear about it. And with that, let me go ahead and pass it off for a few words from our lovely executive director, Gail Jordan. Welcome to the show. What do you have for us?
Thank you, Kara. I have 3 things, and I'll number them so you can follow, kind of like a preacher does. You know, they go through the 3 points, and so you can kind of set your watch on when you're going to get to break away for lunch. So,
Oh, we love that, Gail. But remember, women are to remain silent.
Those 3 points. The first thing is Randall and Mary. Thank you so much for being our guests. You know, as they tell their stories, and at this point, we look back on it and we can chuckle about it and laugh and roll our eyes. But I think about the journeys that you all have made. Ugh. I think about little Mary and little Randall and what you were seeing and learning and discovering and feeling and experiencing, and how arduous your journey must have been to get where you are now. And I'm so grateful that you're out and that you're safe, and that you're taking what could be and could have been very painful experiences, and instead of putting them in a box and putting a lock on it and burying them forever, you're using them to try to talk about this so that we can help other people. Recovering from Religion stands ready in the gap to help those folks who come to us, but we don't know who to help until we hear stories from people like you. And so I want to acknowledge that we're so grateful that you've told the stories at a personal cost. There must have been times when telling these stories are painful and make you feel vulnerable again and put you back in those positions. And I don't want to minimize that or diminish that in any way. We are so deeply grateful that you have come and shared those so much with us. Every time you all have spoken, it has moved me. And again, we are so grateful that you've been able to share that with our RfRx audience. So thank you for coming. Thank you for our team, our usual team, all of the things that our folks do. Nikki, who is recording at whatever time it is, 3 o'clock in the morning, wherever they are, and Kara and Martin and all the folks behind the scenes helping with that. So thank you for that. The second thing I want to mention, Kara, when you caught the same thing I did, I have bonfire session written up here on my card when I didn't want to forget some of the things I was going to say. Please be aware, the fall excursion is coming up. You know, we throw this language around. We forget sometimes, you don't know what that is. It's our weekend religion recovery retreat. It's in the mountains. It's in September. All the details are at our website, recoveringfromreligion.org. All you have to do is click on fall excursion, and I don't want to say the wrong dates or anything, but if you can possibly make this, it's affordable. And not only is it affordable, but we have some generous donors who are willing to help you come if that's necessary for you to get to make it. The bonfire experience was just one of many, many meaningful experiences. You know, when you get away and you get away from your screens and you're with a group of people who identify with what you have gone through, there is power beyond just the simple description of it. So please consider coming to the fall excursion. That's coming up the end of September. And the last thing I want to say, and I promise, Kara, I'm going to try to wrap it up with this. I know I'm taking more than my fair share of the time. You may have heard, or you may hear in the days to come, we Recovering from Religion is involved in a little bit of there was a group in Canada that we applied to table at a Pride festival. We do this all the time. We do Pride festivals all the time. The LGBTQ community is part of who our targeted resources to help. You know, it's a big part of who we reach out to and who we're able to help. A large part of our volunteer and our client force come from the LGBTQ community, and we table at Prides often. There's a community in Canada who we applied to table, and they gave us the approval, and we were all set to do that. And then we heard back from them that no, we are not welcome there. We're not welcome there because there are some, believe it or not, religious gay groups that might be offended by or expressed, I don't want to put words in their mouth, express concern about some of our tactics and messaging. And so they disinvited us. And so we have responded to that. And we have responded for a variety of reasons, not because we're in a pissing contest with this Pride group. Please understand that this is a Pride group. These are our friends. These are our allies. But we have chosen to reach out to them. We have been patient with them. We've tried to work with them to say, please talk to us about this. We really want to table. We're even going to do a workaround. We're going to table outside of their festivities, because it's that important to us for the people in that community to know that Recovering from Religion is here with resources, with a compassionate listening ear, with a community, with all of the things that Recovering from Religion offers. And so you might hear about that. As you listen and hear about it, understand that if you go to our website, we'll try to place our press release that we presented showing, you know, kind of what we went through and quoting the email that we got from the Pride group on purpose. I just want you to be aware that if you hear about that, I want you to understand what the circumstances are. We are not going after a Pride organization. We are in disagreement because we were approved, given the invitation to be able to come, and then the religious groups pushed back against us and we were disinvited. Never has happened before, but that's the info, and we'll keep you updated if we have more info. The Pride event is this coming weekend, and we're still holding out hope till the last minute that they would change their minds, that they would reevaluate what they've done and invite us in. Otherwise, we're going to make it happen right outside on the sidewalk. So that's what we're doing. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope you stay for the hangout. Consider coming to the fall excursion. I'll turn it back over to our